ChopperMag, but we've also been hearing it during our group stages. These are two of the loudest teams at this tournament, so there is a solid chance that we're going to hear these teams throughout the cast if they can be picked up on our microphones.
We heard it a little bit in the group stages. If you didn't see it, Citadel Gaming having almost like a hacker war chant in a lot of those coordinated moments, the IGL counting down and all the players bringing out at the same time. You will probably feel it just as much as you hear it if it comes out on stage. But Krakoa, the first map in this one, it's record-wise not great, but it's a different story, I suppose, for Citadel. They're 0-1, but you lost against 100 Thieves. 1-0 for ChopperMag, able to win, but it was against Iconics. Two very different teams.
Not a lot of stuff to learn there. Of course, single maps, we don't have a lot of statistics, and like you mentioned, those teams, one of them is here, and one of them is already taken out in the group stage. We're starting off with the bans. The Mantis taken out. We heard from Moxie earlier talking about what that Mantis enables, but it's already sneaking through. But Citadel, they prioritize the cap over the potential Jeff secure of their own, and we're going to see ChopperMag with their first Mantis ban going to be getting the protect on it. One-sided Mantis secured.
Seems to be the common thing. Like ChopperMag, happy to play Triple Sentinel as strategist when it comes up. Adam Warlock's going to be banned out. These are sort of common things that we have seen from Citadel, right? Even the Protect on Captain America, they did that against 100 Thieves because Polly seems like the kind of player that you could try and really hit his hero pool for. They still have that opening to protect the Jeff coming up, but instead, ChopperMag's not going to let it go through, which seems to be maybe the plan for Citadel Gaming. Let it sort of in there, force them to ban it out, go for a whole different strategy, which is what we saw Citadel doing a little bit more, experimenting with their final day of groups.
So currently, ChopperMag have secured themselves that one-sided Mantis. Citadel have the opportunity for a one-sided Adam Warlock, but it's not secured yet. Would be a solid get for them, though. Melio is one of the best Adam Warlocks in the world. ChopperMag, they're going to secure themselves a Captain America as well, so we actually get a matchup here with Polly and ChopperMag choosing to potentially match them.
So it's the final ban for Citadel Gaming before they put in a final protect. Still having quite a lot of options themselves. They won't have the Venom, but they've got the Captain America Protect, so both Polly and Enzo are going to be comfortable. One-sided Emma is actually something that they have gone for more commonly. Like, they want to get the Jeff if they can, but because they're sort of well known for trying to get Tanuki on the Jeff, it makes sense why teams have wanted to try and ban it out. Means that you have something spare and open, and that Vanguard line is going to be protected.
Citadel have secured themselves an incredible setup for Polly here, and if they want to play more aggressive. With the Winter Soldier and, of course, the Emma Frost being taken away, you've removed two of the best anti-dive characters in the game, who, of course, that Carbon Crush, Bionic Hook, Trooper's Fist. You can stun anyone who dives in here, but with all of those tools removed, suddenly Citadel have a lot more freedom to go in, and they even secure the Emma themselves, so they are able to counteract ChopperMag with their own Captain America, and potentially the Venom, as they may look to go for a double here.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot of options for that front line.
That's accurate.
There's no Jeffs on either side, and no Buckies either, because it feels like Bucky would have a lot more free reign when you don't have the Jeff on the board to just dip underground if you need to make sure that you don't get hit by some of those Kraken's impacts. But looking here, it is ChopperMag looking to try and have a bright start here. I think the majority of the full free mappers that we've seen for Citadel Gaming is them going down a map first. And when it comes to them being able to choose what maps they want to go to, it's typically Convoy. The likes of Yggdrasil's Path seems to suit them. Araco has been historically very strong for them. It's just not really been necessary to show recently.
Speaking of Araco, we aren't heading there, but we are heading to the fellow Hellfire Gala map. It is Krakoa, and we're starting off on the Gala itself. Looking at these openings, we're getting a little bit of pre-armor, but not much for Citadel. Not going to be spreading too much here, whereas ChopperMag are starting to hover incredible aggression. They're looking at the Psylocke and the Daredevil here to try and just run over Citadel. But remember, Citadel do have access to that Emma Frost, so they have a little bit of counter dive here. And Melio bringing out the Ultron here. Healing was nerfed, but it still does damage.
Starting to see it a little bit more. I think we even discussed it on the Wednesday of like, this is so common that people have moved away from Ultron completely. Now they're starting to integrate it back slightly. But ChopperMag going in with the Daredevil first, trying to go for a more divey composition, especially when you have got the Mantis and the Rocket to try to make sure that they have that damage boost in a lot of these team fights to go. You can see the Citadel Gaming wanted to try and back off and disengage as much as possible. Now that the point is opened up, not in the hands of anybody, but Polly, of course, gets the first elimination.
Pethic with the dive, chases down Melio out of the sky. Alex falls as well, and with the reds coming in from Ken, we are going to see Citadel still continue to try and fight this and hold on to the point, but we're seeing ChopperMag's aggression is paying off. They take down Enzo, Polly, and Ken. Pethic and Zenstory with the dive, and ChopperMag are able to take the first control, and the aggro, the chase ability from that Daredevil is able to take out Melio again.
Seems to be a really good set of pace, something again that feels that Jeff really adds to that kind of composition, but because it's not banned out, you don't really see the Mantis and the Rocket having enough to try and get these players into position, but the coordination is there. Citadel Gaming are going to be forced back. They're trying to regroup and reset for another engagement, but they've already lost Melio high up in the sky. It's a very easy clear up for Duet.
BRB brings them back, but they're still diving into the backline, trying to get onto that extra pressure. Enzo bringing out the Angela for the extra reinforcements, the dive potential, but it's taken down with the duel. Bobo picks them off, darts to the butterfly, into the backline, takes out Alex. Tanuki, though, will finish off Duet, keeping this a little bit even, at least in the fight. But Bobo is uncontested, and he's just picking up KO after KO.
It really feels that Citadel are maybe panicking slightly. It's about 50% progression on the board for ChopperMag. They have so much to sort of sit back on as well. If there is a chance for Citadel Gaming to try and group up, even a portal play from Enzo was used quite early, something that they have done a lot in dominations, almost going for like hostage take plays to try and surprise ChopperMag, but they managed to get out of it. That means that if it gets to 99% and we get overtime, Enzo's not going to have the portal in hand.
Bobo goes down, Enzo is pushing up, they're trying to make the most of this, let the Devil out is available, but go with Feast from the Abyss into the backline, not able to find the full target. Nice Dark Force teleport from Alex to avoid that initial engage. Duet falls to Enzo, and we are seeing Citadel Gaming pushing back up to the point, trying to go for the retake. Blaster Barrage from Tanuki, who's in the backline. Mantis has to use the Soul Resurgence just to stay up. Diving on back, Tanuki up to the high ground, fighting the Battle Rebirth Beacon as Peptic is going in deep. The Devil has been unleashed. Galactic Legend from Tanuki with the Eternal Bond from Alex is allowing Citadel to try and drive back ChopperMag with Fidel being taken out. They are running out of tools, Ryan.
They still haven't taken the point as it's about to reach 99% for ChopperMag. Now they get it. Oh, almost. There's still one player that's going to push it all the way to 99%. Perfect for ChopperMag. All they need to do is group up, get some ultimates together, one clean fight, and they're able to take this first point. But Citadel Gaming using some big ultimates themselves, but they still have 3 in the bank. They want to try and keep this tempo up, go for fights against ChopperMag, force out ultimates, whilst they're not ready to go for these pure 6 versus 6.
Bobo pushing up, going into the stealth to try and make their way onto the point with the Freedom Charge being activated on both sides. Duet and Polly. Enzo is taken down first in this fight. Battle Rebirth Beacon will bring them back. It's Melly's going to pull the trigger first. Dance to the butterfly onto the backline. Fidel is removed again, but counter Battle Rebirth Beacon from Skittles keeps them in this fight, meaning it's even. Alex not so lucky, taken out, but Melio retakes onto Peptic. It's back and forth, Ryan.
It's really a case of this coming through. Enzo connecting onto one of Fidel. There's enough damage, maybe a little bit of healing to keep him going, but Tanuki is the hunted dog that's trying to get those picks to make sure that ChopperMag keep themselves a player down. However, they've taken the objective back into their favor. It means it's OT. It's not progressing for Citadel Gaming at all. Enzo, I don't think he's going to have the portal because he tried to go for the play beforehand. So it's a case of Pulley trying to survive to keep stalling as much as he possibly can. He's actually doing terrifically, but it's down to the wire. ChopperMag, those first couple of fights where they're able to just keep staggering Citadel Gaming enough to take Carousel.
Nicely done. ChopperMag takes the lead, and Citadel Gaming, they adjusted, they were able to retake it, but like you said, the tenacity of ChopperMag to be able to just stay on that point, to keep delaying, to allow themselves to get to that 99 meant that they only had to really win one more retake, especially with Enzo already burning that portal, which will still be on cooldown for at least the start of this engage.
Yeah, I like Duep's freedom charge that we saw go in. He sort of knew that Citadel Gaming were almost trying to like bottleneck them into certain chokes. Duep just tries to keep that pace going for them, and I think that ferocity, I think, for ChopperMag has kind of kept Citadel Gaming a little bit floundered to an extent. But I do think that the changes that Citadel Gaming made to their composition, putting Melio onto the Psylocke, going for more of a 2-2-2, even Tanuki bringing out the Daredevil, we saw bits and pieces of it. I don't think we've seen many Daredevil head-to-heads of the new duelist added into the game, so this should be a hell of a game.
We'll have to see as we're going to make our way out, and it looks like the portal is off cooldown. The delay was just long enough, so Enzo going to open up, and once again we see Citadel going to see if they can take someone's lunch money, moving out with the portal to try and get that first grab, and Fidel is once again being bullied. The substitute, he's just here to help. He's going to get taken down, but the BRB was placed in time to bring him back.
It seemed to be a good read. I mean, it's a common play the Citadel Gaming make. It means that if we do get to overtime on this point, that the portal should be ready. That's how the timings tend to work. But the Iron Amplifier is going to be used from Ken to allow just a little bit more lethality with Citadel's approach. They've got a couple of picks. They've got a Beer back that's brought Alex back into the fray as they've gone down. This should be them taking the fight. A couple of plays gone down for ChopperMag, but they're stalling out as much as they possibly can. It just seems to be the elimination feed is full of the red of Citadel.
Like you said, that compositional adjustment from Citadel seems to be paying paying off dividends right now, as Citadel are able to take that first fight with the portal, and now that they used it so early in the round, there's a chance that it might be available for a retake. If we do see ChopperMag go for a swap and start getting close to that 99, there is the opportunity to re-engage for Citadel. And now building up towards ultimates, 84% towards that Eye of Agamotto, 87 for Dance of the Butterflies, 90 for Freedom Charger. We already have Let the Devil Out and Invisible Boundary.
Enzo has been very key. We're trying to go for some major Eye of Agamottos. The AoE stun can be blocked by so much, but the Soul Resurgence is going to be used first from Fidel. They want to try and go for this fight, and it really sets up Bobo nicely with the Dance of the Butterflies. Cutting through 2, 1 is going to be brought back. The Invisible Boundary was used from Alex, but I think because he was eliminated, it got shut down early.
Bobo's flanking is insane. He's always on the flank, causing problems. Able to get that final hit here. Melio is charged up with the Darts of the Butterfly, but with Bobo able to clean them out, we've seen the flip from 30% to 17 in favor of Citadel, but ChopperMag control the point. Coming in from above, the Devil has been unleashed by Pethic, diving directly into Citadel, down to the Butterfly for the counter though, and Bobo and Fidel are taken down. The sustain is being removed, but the Battle Reaper beacon means it's only a 5 versus 6. Citadel are chasing them down. Pethic gets the counter onto Alex, evening up the fight as Duo chases it in. The Devil's been unleashed for Tanuki now. Onto the fight. Melio is the one who falls though.
They still haven't taken the objective. You can just see how fast Tanuki's going into the backline, but Bobo peels perfectly. Pethic also finds a pick onto Ken, and it seems to be more of the same. You've got Polly that's able to trade picks either way, but there's no semblance, there's no coordination for Citadel Gaming. It feels like we're cut into so many different micro fights because of how these compositions are working. It is an outright brawl in the first day of DreamHack Atlanta, and Zen Starry finds a perfect pick onto Alex with the Feast of the Abyss.
Alex coming down as a big chunk of the healing. Ken does have that Cosmic Yarn Amplifier for a bit of bonus health for this last possible fight, because we're getting close to 67% here. Citadel Gaming looking for the re-engage as Duap is using those mutant gates for the portals to just try and pressure them near their spawn. Bobo almost charged on another Dance of the Butterflies. The Ken is forced to swap. They give up on the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier and they bring out the Loki.
Bobo's got the flank, he's got the Dance of the Butterflies as well. Everybody's thrown themselves into a choke, though. It's not the perfect position. He wants to isolate targets if he can, but they lose Duep in the process. Zenstarry looking for a chance to dive. He's going to have the Vanguard counterpart back in a second with the BRB. He finds himself too. Enzo's trading onto Fidel, so it is just Skittles alive to work with. He's used the Arm Amplifier to really set up these duelists to find these picks. It's 99% again. Citadel Gaming, they could go down 0 and 2 on this domination map.
They're delaying as best as they can. Polly charges up to the point with the Liberty Rush. Ken is portaling in. They've had to swap it, but overtime ticks down. They can't reach, and ChopperMag take the lead in the series.
The domination just hasn't been going well for Citadel Gaming at all. ChopperMag, they sort of know the approach. Getting this far is a testament to how good these guys are in itself, but they know now that they can really play to the crowd a little bit more. And for Citadel Gaming, if they want to continue up in this winners bracket, they're going to have to do it the same way that they've done it so far. A full 3-map series.
The Devil of Hell's Kitchen taking the MVP. Pethic was putting on quite the performance there, but we've also got to point out Bobo's on the flank, causing problems. Speaking of distraction, Pethic was just a battering ram, just heading straight into Citadel, while Bobo was constantly flanking, causing difficulties.
And for here as well, like, we have seen a lot of chances for Citadel Gaming to regroup. They've been in this situation a lot. I mean, that's the one thing that works for them, is like, whilst they are a young team, you can't say that they're inexperienced. Maybe like getting used to these kind of events, we're seeing a lot more audience, certainly in the West as well, like the first like international LAN that we've had here outside of China, right? And it's the first like major event that we've seen here for Marvel Rivals. This has to be a very quick turnaround and a very quick talk. But this, for Salah, I suppose, the coach that sat on the right-hand side, he's saying, we're used to this, we've been here before, we get to choose convoy, we know what kind of adjustments we want to make.
You can see the excitement behind ChopperMag, but it's a very focused look for Citadel Gaming to try and bring this back. And you can see the differences here. It really kind of felt like Fidel was kind of more of a sacrificial lamb in that game, because so much of Citadel Gaming's focus went onto them, going really taken down 9 times in that entire game. But ChopperMag was still able to take these fights with these flanks, with these duels, trading up often. And so much of that came down to Duet, Bobo, and Pethic, just being able to take these dive fights, the aggro of them. And of course, that one Zen Starry with the Feast of the Abyss for the turnaround was insane, taking out Alex early.
Well, just how many of these plays are ChopperMag players chasing Citadel Gaming, like just individuals that are just running away going, ah, help me, oh God, help me. It's just the coordination on the side of ChopperMag, but also like Bobo here knowing like that's not the fight I want to take. Everybody's grouped up, I want to try and isolate them, and then he comes in. The cerebral play, the timing, and it just felt like ChopperMag knew that they had to play fast. They had to be in and out, make out like bandits kind of thing, because Citadel Gaming do make the right adjustments, but in this kind of environment, in these kind of games, ChopperMag just know we need to play hot and fast because that's how we get under their skin, and we expect Citadel Gaming to be a loud team. I imagine it's radio silent so far on that stage.
They're just going to be discussing through, working out what they can change, what they can do here. You can see these final results at the end. 13 final hits for both Bobo and Pethic. Highest on the side of Citadel was going to be Melio with 9, trying to keep up through those fights. They also went through a lot of characters. They started on Psylocke, they started on the Ultron, then onto Psylocke, and then onto Adam at the end, but wasn't able to get enough charge for a Karmic Revival. But Bobo in that game, like we said, while Zenstari, Pethic, Duep, all of these people had an impact, Bobo was able to do so much work for this team, just flanking constantly. That's Skittles, that's not Bobo, as we see but a KD of 7.3 in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to see the Hulk now that that was spoken about in the interview that you had. But, I mean, his Psylocke will definitely do. And it's a character that really seems to be coming back into the fray. And certainly when you're in these situations, there was so much stock that was put onto playing one duelist, triple strategist, there you go. And look, he knows how to do this kind of stuff, right? Like, he had such a good run with, like, Nova in the mid-season finals. It was a team that, like, people were like, they could have gone a lot further if they weren't stuck in that playing stage. They're able to sort of go into that point. But, interesting that we're going to Heart of Heaven, the new map, actually, the new Convergence, which isn't Convoy for Citadel Gaming.
It is Convergence, but it is one that Citadel Gaming have had a bit of practice on because they did play against it into OUG in the final day of group stage. So they probably have maybe the most experience on this map out of any team because so few teams have had the chance to play it in the actual tournament games.
Yeah, you're sort of going to work out in those moments to try something different. It did feel a little bit that they were playing against OUG. They had already qualified, OUG already eliminated, it went to a third map. It's like, why not at this rate? Maybe they felt that like the way that they were just playing right now, that going to their sort of home grounds, right, of Yggdrasil's path, any Convoy, honestly, it's like an 80% win rate across like stage 2 in this event for them. The problem is for Convergence, much like Domination at this event, it's like sub 50. Yes. They lose more than they win in this game mode, and it's a gamble. But I imagine ChopperMag just like, all right, we're 1-0 up. Like, we take that risk.
So here's the argument. They're going for Convergence here, likely because they can choose where to go through. Like you said, they've not had as good of a win rate, so you want to prioritize where you get to play. If your best map is Convoy and you're comfortable on basically every map that is delivered there, then perhaps you are going to be able to take control, even if your opponent takes you to any of the maps, because you're already safe. This way, Citadel are trying to take control of their destiny in a position where they might have been a little weaker earlier.
It's true. So if you win this one, ChopperMag would get the map choice, and it's any Convoy. So Citadel like, yeah, choose whatever map you want. We're all very good on them. Whereas if they picked Convoy and won it, ChopperMag just got Jelly, don't they? Exactly. They got the Jelly, which has not gone well for Citadel either with records. And it's not as if that these teams can't make the adaptations. In fact, all of these events are built around making those changes. It is just more, you don't want that in the back of your head. You have got a Jet Protect coming in for ChopperMag, but it hasn't been banned out just yet. It's just that Protect onto Emma Frost, which Citadel Gaming is starting to lean towards more than the Protect onto the Jeff and building around that kind of composition.
But they did abandon it in the last game. They did have it, but they moved Enzo so quickly. They had to bring out Doctor Strange at one point. They brought out Angela at one point, tried to mess with a little bit of extra aggression because ChopperMag's actual die potential was a little bit too scary here. The Venom taken out on both sides. So far, we've only seen Mantis banned out by Citadel. In terms of the triple strategists here, Jeff has already been protected. Adam has been allowed through.
So yeah, you're missing the Mantis, the Venom, the Angela. Angela's definitely an interesting one, but we did see Polly have some amazing like moments in the end. Might be able to sort of focus on, yeah, making sure that it seems to what we've seen in similar series. Those problematic heroes in the last map, just make sure that they're not available for this one again for ChopperMag.
That Psylocke was just a bit too much from Bobo, so going to remove that from the board, and we have the Jeff protected for Citadel. It slept all the way down that draft phase and will actually be allowed to be picked up. Double Jeff protect for the teams, and Winter Soldier will be the last remove here by ChopperMag, meaning that Citadel Gaming lose a little bit of that anti-dive potential.
We get to see what ChopperMag could do on the latest map, and what we've seen a little bit of it because we saw OUG play it twice. How would you sort of sum up the fights that we've seen on it? Because I would say they're just constant.
Yes.
It doesn't stop there. For a peaceful place, there's a lot of just straight out brawling all of the time.
Point 1 constant. Point 2 seems to be a little bit more momentum based. If you're able to keep that, keep those tablets moving through that underground section, then it's a little bit easier to move on to potentially to that point 3. But this first point is rough. It's a long distance for both teams, but portals, of course, for defenders can be extremely useful to try and contest it. And that first entryway gate can't be flown over by Angela, so you are stuck for either the wide gate or the open door.
And certainly, like, we saw it a little bit in those series of just the Angela flying around to just make sure that the focus of the defending team has to pull back to what's behind them, so you don't just get jumped by Angela and taken out, especially with these like coordinated dives. But ChopperMag are going to be defending first. Citadel choosing the map and the side, really using this as an opportunity to throw curveballs, which is what they've loved to do ever since we saw them back in the start of EMEA Ignite.
Going heavy on the aggression, already starting off with the Jeff speed bubbles to get them to the point. Perfig is back on that Daredevil. They were one of the most aggressive players in the mid-season finals as well. Bringing out stuff like the Black Panther and the Wolverine, adjusting back when they were called FMCL. Now they continue the actual momentum and, of course, the legacy that they left behind from that tournament.
Yeah, like you see, there's just a lot of fighting. All of these characters hyper mobile, these lots of 1v1s. It makes sense Iron Fist has been studying here with all of the isolated fights that he wants to be taking. But now we're looking for Melio to try and find a pick, trying to synergize with Polly, but it's not necessarily going to be in need because Polly in himself is a force to be reckoned with. Trying to see if he can find some more help, maybe peel for some of the backline as Ken goes up against Duev that has been matching what Polly's been trying to put down on this Captain America so far this series.
Not playing Gambit, but making a name for himself here. Duev has been putting pressure on the backline, taking down Ken earlier. Perfect finds Alex, utilizing the ability to just track people through the waterfalls and through the mist of that Daredevil to just make sure that everyone is already pressured. We're about halfway through the cap, but once again, Citadel will be repelled. ChopperMag keeping the pressure on for this defense. Citadel regroup.
The Daredevil helping to see if any players from Citadel Gaming trying to sort of sneak around into the backline of ChopperMag. And Duet almost playing a sort of counter flank. If anybody tries to go on that right-hand side, they're going to run right into it and go for the dive themselves. But Melio, he's been very quiet here, trying to see if he can get onto one of these strategists. But the problem is that Rocket Raccoon is one of the most mobile. Melio's going to try and help the rest of his team that goes down in the process because of the ultimate, even the focus from Perfig.
Bobo entered into the duel, was able to evade the majority of the shots. Of course, Starla being more of a tracking character, whereas Psylocke is more of a hit scan character. So we did see an attempt at the duel there, and then with the reinforcements from Pethic, we're able to take the duel. It's Jeff utilized more for the healing area than anything else. But if they can get someone out of position on this backline, going to try and remove any of the snipe, but it's actually going to get their own Captain America, removes them back, but taken out by Tanuki. Down to the butterfly from Melio as they try to create an opening.
Seeing what they can get, but Bobo uses the Galactic Legend as a response. There's not enough ground to cover for Bobo. He's managing to find these picks, and Citadel Gaming trying to go for a bit of a respite. All of that momentum that they might have been able to get off the back of Melio's pick is completely dissipated now. It's just over 90 seconds now for Citadel Gaming to confirm this first point. It feels that whilst we haven't seen an awful lot of this map texture, the progression that's made so far might not be enough.
Here comes it, Jeff from Ken, seeing that they can grab someone, teleport, used by Bobo to get themselves out of danger. Pethic gets stunned out, tries to go for it, and we go for a safe Jeff ult here. Not going to be able to find anyone to pick up as Duev and Polly go for the brawl. Pethic, the devil has been unleashed by Tanuki, but Duev keeping their team topped up with the freedom charge. The heaven has descended onto the point. Melio is brought back at the BRB as the Silence Seduction tries to grab from the side. Stunned onto Tanuki, chasing the raccoon up to the high ground, but he's backing away. Pethic is picked off and brought back. Fidel on this rocket is doing so much for their team to keep them on this point, but Tanuki is relentless here, chasing down the shark.
Yeah, he's trying to get the picks, but just that no drop-off healing from Jeff. Now he's able to work together with Polly to find these eliminations, but they're still going back in the other way. The Vanguards for ChopperMag holding on. There's just 40 seconds left for Citadel Gaming's attack to get a little bit more. Their choice of map, they've been stalled out a little bit, but it's just ChopperMag able to just keep throwing bodies at the point. And now Citadel, only 30 seconds to try and push on. They find a pick onto Bobo. They need to build up some of these ultimates too.
Bobo is taking down Pethix, looking for the reinforcements. Going to try and take out the rocket on the backline to remove that battle rebirth beacon to prevent any kind of reinforcement. It's Jeff from Skittles to remove the attackers from the board, trying to grab someone off onto the side of the map as Bobo takes to the skies. Melio with Dart to the butterfly takes out Dueb and is chasing down the defenders. Pethix falls, but Dueb is brought back, and the battle rebirth beacon to keep this fight going. Ken is healing up the team as best as they can, go for their own. It's Jeff to try and remove them from the board, chasing them inside the building to make sure there's no escape if they can get Rocket. They don't find it, it's just too high with the speed bubbles. Onto the point, Tanuki is trying to chase down, remove the battle rebirth beacon. Alex falls, Fidel falls, the Rockets are down from both sides. The portal comes on out from Pethix to hold this line.
How much more have you got to work with, Tanuki? The devil is out, and it's right all in a concentrated spot. You've even got the Freedom Charge for a little bit more supportive utility, but a Galactic Legend is going to show up just at the end of it. There goes Ken. One of the backline already taken down, and it's right at the edge there. It seems that the picks are going Citadel's way, and finally, there's no way to say it. Like, Citadel love to play Atlantis used so much for so many like MCU films. Feels that this is the perfect cinema for these guys too.
They always fight until the end. The reinforcements coming on in. Bobo being forced to teleport out with that rocket network in order to just get out, but they were in mid. Oh, Mark onto Melio, forced to retreat, but here comes Cap as well. They are focusing there, chasing them all the way down. A relentless chase from ChopperMag. Coming on in from Zen Starry. Onto more coming in with those Icarus Axes, forcing them into the spot. They're going to try and go for a spawn hold onto Citadel as they get the triple, as they continue to hold them out. Tanuki is just getting completely thrown away. They're so isolated here. They either need to go down fast or get out of here, and it looks like it will be the former.
Both these teams love to play and fight fire with fire, just a high tempo, especially when you're defending. Citadel Gaming will do it a lot, just taking constant fights, even if it's not in a great spot, to just waste as much time. Melio knows this, it's Citadel all over. They know ChopperMag's strategy because they were using it literally the other day. So they go for a play to make sure that a player down. Heaven's Descent is going to be used from the Angela and ChopperMag, and it's Jeff in a combination with all of those players grabbed up, seeing if they can grab a few more, but it is just the one on the objective, still being stalled out from ChopperMag, and even using the Daredevil ult. Citadel Gaming are trying to make traction, but they're stuck in the mud.
Pethix trying to brawl it, trying to force them off the point. It's Jeff coming in from Ken. Both teams just grabbing their own teammates, not able to find the targets as of yet, but forcing them back onto the high ground. Tanuki moves in for the flag. The devil is out, pushing on to take out the rocket, removing the revive. As that car continues to move on forward, Citadel have the momentum right now, going in for the brawl, onto the Angela. You cannot escape the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
It's just unrelenting from Tanuki. Now he's going for Jeff, the land shark that is pretty much just living off of this little bit of high ground. He's trying his best to just buy as much time as possible, but there's enough focus and maybe enough peel now. Tanuki is not taking his eyes off of the Jeff. Number one enemy to focus on, but the rest of the team's coming in. He's still not wanting to go down.
Not going down to HP, not going down to the environment, but they're still being chased. Bobo on the track. Bobo's forced to retreat though back as Polly's in the backline. Carrot with the Cosmic Yard Amplifier for the bonus health, but it's going to be taken out quickly. No more bonus health for ChopperMag. Here comes the Galactic Legend, and there's no defensive abilities at all for Citadel. Tanuki is down, Alex is down, with overtime on the line. They're running out of time. Melio with the dart to the butterfly takes out Pethix. Skittles removes Enter from the ball, which is the main health pull. Tanuki is over to the Doctor Strange to make sure they can pull it back in because Melio is having to touch in order to buy
the portal.
It's jammed! Skittles with the interrupt on the portal, meaning it's all that's left of the people on the point. Polly is giving everything they can with the healing of Ken to buy the extra time onto that objective to make sure overtime continues. Tanuki's going to have to rush on in. Freedom charge from Dueb to keep this fight going. It's Jeff on the counter to try and remove the rocket. If you can remove Battle Rebirth Beacon from the point, then that will remove the defenders, but overtime is ticking down. Here comes with the Heaven's Descent to hold the line for just a second longer. Overtime is removed, and ChopperMag are holding. They've pushed them back, and they hold Citadel at point 159 meters.
And doing it from their playbook, right? We saw Citadel Gaming play on this map before, and it's anything like we've seen from those pure payload maps. take as many fights as possible, try to isolate targets, make sure that if you try to overextend as the attacking team to try and take space, that you just keep that payload stuck on the ground. ChopperMag showing the Citadel that they love to play that similar style. They love to play brawly in these overtime fights. And Citadel Gaming now need to make sure that they put together just as strong of a defensive side, just as strong as a first point hold as well, wasting all 4 minutes that ChopperMag did last time.
This has to be the defense of Citadel Gaming's life, and you immediately see in comes Groot, in comes Adam, charge up those revives. They brought out the Loki, double revives. This isn't as easy of a map to portal back on than some of the convergence maps because that point gets picked up so quickly. So revives rise in priority, but it's still time for Daredevil. Tanuki with the sustain, keeping them in this fight. Perfect is teasing us. I doubt this will make it out the door, but it would be cool.
Look how many picks. Pretty much for the duelists, it's even, but it's the tanks, it's Duep, there's Zenstar, there's Vanguards that are finding just a little bit more than Polly and Enzo. Maybe because you are losing out on the Venom a little bit more. You wanted to go for the one-sided Emma, so you don't really play that very concentrated dive style. You want to try and shut it down, but ChopperMag are just playing so free and so loose. It's hard to isolate those targets because by the time that you realize what's happening, you might be a player down. Look at them go already. They're going into the left-hand side as a team.
Bobo sieging. It's a full wraparound for ChopperMag to try and remove the defensive position. Look at where those group walls are, though. They're trying to make it so that if they try to come through the tunnel, it's going to be a very difficult engage point. But entering into the duel, Tanuki forced back by Duep, who's been putting on a clinic on this Captain America. Fethik takes out one group wall, is immediately focused down, has to deflect, and is punished for their greed.
Tanuki finding that pick up the skills. It's feeling a little bit more personal now at this rate. But pretty much a full wipe out. The problem now with ChopperMag's composition, if you're going for these attacking sides now, is there's a lot of players that are now isolated. It means it's going to take a while for ChopperMag to try and regroup as a full 6 to go again. And when you have the Daredevil being able to get some little bit more information on who's nearby, you know exactly who's isolated, who's in the spot that they should not be on this attack.
Melio just sending Cosmic Clusters through the gate to make sure they can grab anyone. Bobo has taken a little bit of a tip from OUG, the Chinese team, and has brought out the Iron Fist to try and melt through that Groot, melt through that Emma, onto the point. Peth, they get the stun onto Tanuki, who retreats up to the high ground. Means they'll still stay in this fight. We're also building up close to that God of Mischief, which means we'll have our first Karmic Revival or the Invisible Boundary. But Alex charges up first, as in comes Bobo into the backline for the first set of crack and impact onto the point to try and reset up the Loki zone, straggling Prison. Pethik is the first to fall, though. Skittles keeping the team topped up with the counter Invisible Boundary so that they can push on through. Citadel holding the line, at least for the moment. No resets coming on in. The Cosmic Yard Amplifier, though, is dropping them low. Here comes the clone into second Invisible Boundary, and Citadel are holding this, but Tanuki outside of the boundary will fall.
Yeah, Duep's managed to take him down with just a volley. Now sign of seduction from Enzo's going to try and go in for the counter-attack, stem the bleeding, so to speak, but he goes down in the process. That camera revival for Melio, he's sat in the back pocket. He goes down. He's got the life cocoon that can bring him in, but he has to find some space. Duep is carving through them as the Magneto. Are you going to have a chance to use his camera revival? You could see him trying to set up, but the portal play comes in from Enzo. That might be the main focus. Have Melio sort of come back. He's going to be there. He still has that camera revival, but there's just enough stall right before ChopperMag were able to take the point.
They have Soul Bomb that can drive it right through, but a straggling pressure comes on in Regeneration Domain. The Devil has been unleashed, but that Groot is doing so much work, but it does not matter. The Regeneration Domain is going to allow Citadel to take on through, and ChopperMag will be repelled one more time with 90 seconds remaining. They are just being staggered as well, though. Pethik and Duep both being taken down. The Iron Fist forced to retreat on a slither of HP.
And you've still sat on with not only the Karmic Revival, but you have almost got the God of Mischief for Ken if you want to go for that copy too. Citadel Gaming holding on by the skin of their teeth. It means that Enzo has not got the portal play for, what, 2.5 minutes, but you would expect that this is going to go on a lot more than that with some of these overtime fights, and with that payload having to travel a good amount past this first point. But there's 1 minute left for ChopperMag to get stuff together. You're trying to synergize that Kraken's impact with that Strangling Prison, but it's not ready yet. He's going to go in first, actually, with the Invisible Boundary. This is a hot tempo play for ChopperMag. If Citadel survive it, they have a great advantage.
Final introduction to try and pull them out of the boundary. It will get onto Zenstar, but they're still tanking, able to push on through. Kraken Impact from Pethik to open up, to force that Invisible Boundary out. Kraken Impact finds nothing, forced to retreat through the point. In comes the Loki with the Clover. Finds Magamoto! onto the point, and suddenly Citadel are coming up daisies here. It's a full wipe with delay as they are going to stagger to it and give them no chance. They pull him away from the edge so he can't go down quicker. They delay him all the way, and that means ChopperMag are taking this last fight 5v6.
They have got the portal. Like, are they going to just try and dive in what they have here? Bobo's going to have to straight send it. Nobody's changing. It is just holding W and hoping that you touch, but against the force physics, that can stop you. The dash just in time for Bobo with the Iron Fist going in onto the fight the back line, but the overtime is starting to burn away for ChopperMag. You've got Tanuki trying to see what target he wants to pick. The stress is now on the attackers of ChopperMag, looking to go to a third map as Ken finds a pick onto Bobo.
Duep arrives with the meteor ram, catches Tanuki! Immediately Melio with the Karmic Revival inside in a safe position means that they will be up in this fight. Poly revive too, and the numbers are heavily in favor of Citadel. But the portal is coming in from Bobo. They might be able to reach the point, but there's only a sliver left. If they get removed from this point, it could be all over. The healing coming on out, invisible boundary for the extra delay. And ChopperMag are trying to hold this, but with Pethic down, they're running out of time and momentum. Enzo's already charged up for another Eye of Agamotto. Alex with the invisible boundary. Ken has the God of Mischief for an extra clone. There comes the stun, but it's all in favor of Citadel right now. They have the numbers. Invisible boundary number 2. Eye of Agamotto one more time. They see the future, and it's a even matchup as ChopperMag are just being whittled down one by one. Melio falls, has Cocoon can reinforce onto this fight as ChopperMag are just out of tools.
Out of steam completely, and you have to say the main hero there is Enzo on that Doctor Strange. We saw his Eye of Agamotto's, those stuns be shut down so often by good force physics and good bulwarks from Magneto up against Rajaro and Na'Vi, and all through the group stages, able to connect onto the right people against some pretty tough counter characters. Tanuki on the Daredevil, the MVP for that one, and I think with the stats it makes sense. It really does feel a Citadel Gaming thrive in these kind of moments. Backs to the wall where things get scrappy. There's only one team to rely on in those moments.
But look at this, Citadel, there's still no smiles because they know it's not over yet. The journey starts with a single step, and while they are 1-1 in this matchup, there is still one more to go in order to progress into that upper bracket. But it's more ChopperMag. All of them have LAN experience except for Skittles not making it to that mid-season, and Fidel coming in as the substitute. They are now the ones having to refocus as they're being taken to the edge.
And it's now a choice of a convoy map to finish where it is just pure payload, no objective to take there, so it's not as if we're going to see ChopperMag being stuck in that instance. But like we were talking between the maps, Citadel Gaming love convoy game modes. They pretty much have set a checkmate situation of whatever map you pick, we are good on.
And let's find out what the analysis desk thinks of the options left available for ChopperMag.
Are you not entertained, Atlanta and viewers? We've got ourselves a matchup here today. My goodness, I mean, we were just losing it over here on the desk. My man, Matsy, so composed, always know. I'm telling you, this man, he had me hyped up. Hey, Matsy, let's talk about Chopper, because right now I'm a Bobo fan, okay? Sign this man, this guy's legit. Let's talk about them, and then we'll talk about Citadel as well. Matsy.
Yeah, grab the pen, sign them up. That's going to be their true objective there for sure. You know, they want to get signed. This is their chance to prove themselves, and they are definitely putting on a show for everybody here today. But coming into this next one, you know, the pressure's at an all-time high because both teams have had a slice of the pie here.
A slice of the pie. It's Australian of you. I love that, man. Listen, I mean, we are losing it at not only Bobo, but hey, Pethic. How many times did we say Pethic? The Daredevil play in general, folks, was absolutely crazy. What did you think?
Yeah, I was going to say immediately, that was disgusting. Pethic looked insane. I mean, that's definitely a map that favors Daredevil with that smoke. Obviously, you can see through it. It goes through invis. You're looking at all invis and even off-angle plays. So it was very difficult to get around Pethic, who was just hunting everyone down.
Yeah, absolutely. And of all places, right, getting the new map, too, for what could have been the game that sent Citadel down. I love that by them as almost a little bit of a strategic play, maybe, like maybe calling out Chopper for not going there all too much. But I guess talking about maps, while we're on the subject, checking out some of the crazy highlights, Matsy, where do you think Chopper is going to bring it? The advantage of losing map 1, or getting map 1, as you can see, you know, bring it together in map 3.
Yeah, I think that now that they've tasted defeat into this series, this is only going to make them even hungrier because as you heard them in their interview, they're slamming their desks. They want to take this win and they are going to do whatever they can to get their hands on it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we saw in the player cams, you know, Citadel, they have high expectations of themselves, but they were looking flustered. They were flustered. But then on the ChopperMag side, I mean, it was just confidence. You wouldn't expect that, you know, from these the Cinderella story.
Yeah, and they even pulled out Iron Fist from Bobo at one point. They didn't even portal in on the final touch, and, you know, Strange is even banned. Me personally, I was shocked when I saw that, but the touch comes in from Bobo at the last moment. The team looked confident. We saw a little bit of mishap there with a couple double strat ults, which you cannot be doing at this level, but they were able to push through it.
Yeah, let's talk about the stars, right? You know, you see this in sports all the time where there's one insane talented player that could just take the team up to victory. All of a sudden, the side of Chopper, it's all Bobo. I mean, I see you Twitch chat, I see you YouTube, just Bobo's raining down. On the other side, Paulie and what he's been able to put together on the Vanguard front. And for me, too, I think it's been the battle of the lawyers, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, Tanuki, again, I mean, you saw some of those plays. There was one point on point 2 where he was off map for a bit, came back on and had 3 people chasing him around, and that buys so much time. So that looked really good there from Citadel.
Yeah, and it really just goes to show, you know, they've been able to play into their strengths there. They just haven't been able to find an answer for Tanuki on the ChopperMag side. You know, they had their Psylocke banned out. We saw the power of that on the map 1. Like, Bobo was just running a train, and the train stopped abruptly.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, Shippy. We talked about the portal. We were like, where's the portal for the last point touch, right? They Zinstar was getting close to the Groot ult as well, or they had the Groot ult as well.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that was the reason Bobo barely touched. It was crazy right there at the you know.
Yeah, I was worried, to be honest. And even so, I didn't love it because it did put him in a tough spot. He gets picked before the team gets there. But, you know, again, it's just confidence in him as a player.
All right, on the line right now, who's going to win this next one? Ship, then Matt. Who you got?
I'm sorry, buddy. I've got to say Citadel. They're such a good team. I love ChopperMag, and the energy you're bringing right now has me want to just lift this table with my bare hands, but...
Oh, I reckon it's going to be going away over ChopperMag. I think, like you said, you know, they're going to be pumped up and ready for action here. I think now that they've tasted defeat, it's going to make them even more excited to try and steal this one through.
All right, Atlanta, let's hear you. Who do you got? It's Chopper versus Citadel, match number 3. One of these being pushed down to the lower as we take a look at the next part of this matchup, which will be the pick ban phase. I think both teams have played really well here. If we take a look at the strategic approach, Matsy, break it down here to start it off.
Coming at you. We already got both Emmas taken away, so we will not see the seduction coming out on Midtown this time. And I tell you, with these teams already facing some wounds in the first couple of maps, they're going to need that ambulance. But Jeff is going to be stolen away from Citadel here. They had a bit of impact with that one in the last map, and taking away the Mantis, that's going to be solid for them.
Ship, talk to me a little bit about the Animal Crossing backline. We're not going to see that because the Jeff's banned there on the top side.
Yeah, so a lot of times during this meta, teams are electing to run that Animal Crossing backline, like you said, with Jeff and Rocket. The idea there is you want to have a self-survivable comp. So your rest of your team is going to be playing their own game while the backline's able to escape from that more divey meta that we're having right now. It keeps you up. It lets the team do what they got to do, get ults, and you commit together.
We got to see the Loki ban here. That's huge. Whenever you get the Mantis save, it just has to follow it, right? You can't allow that to sneak its way in. You know, at least you can wait a little bit longer here as we take a look at the next part of the bans. That's what I would see definitely coming from Chopper. There's the, okay, so we're going to go, and this makes sense, right? You get the Jeff save, goodbye, symbiotic shenanigans, and then you can't get the Loki team up, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to be able to allow those team-ups through, allow them a bit more power, because otherwise they're just going to wreak havoc all over your backline there. But next save is going to be the Cap, and Psylocke stolen again.
Yeah, removing Psylocke there is a good decision because, again, Bobo is just looking so good on Psylocke. I don't see why you wouldn't, so that is going to be removed. And saving the Cap, like you had said, you know, it's another one of those self-survivable comps, right? Your job there is to go back towards your backline if they ever need help, pop that Freedom Charge, or even use it to engage.
Yeah, I know we don't have any America teams in this fight, but right now it's USA. I mean, the Duet versus Paulie, this cap on cap, it's like right out of the MCU. That's what I'm all about here as we lock in, load. Everybody, we are set for match 3. One of these teams for Australia or EMEA are going down to the lower bracket. Now to bring all the action, all the heat to you, let's throw it back on over to Tetcher and Ryan.
Mantis on the board. Thank you very much, Desk, as we are heading on in, and they brought it up perfectly. While it's neither of these teams are the American teams, although we do have one American player in the form of Fidel. Yep, very much seems to be coming down to the Battle of the Captain Americas. Check out Falcon and Winter Soldier now streaming on Disney+.
Yeah,
that was not, we were not asked to do that.
It was Duep, I think, it's just shone massively here, and I think the Vanguards are definitely the ones that are just trying to quite literally mitigate a lot of that damage that's coming through when you have all of this duelists pretty much either holding W or holding a controller down, because you have got two controller players in with Skittles on the back line of ChopperMag and Enzo in the front line of Citadel. Citadel went onto this map against OUG almost with a little bit of hubris, right? They'd already qualified, they banned out the Iron Fist up against Molan Ran of OUG and decided to play it themselves, and it sort of bit them in the backside, so to speak. It's how we ended up on Heart of Heaven in that series. But here, it shows that it wasn't just a bit of a diff play. Tanuki's on the Iron Fist first as they go on this attacking side. A 2-2-2 setup with Polly on the fall for a second, but now he's back on the groove.
They looked at it, they decided that, you know what, this seems like a pretty good idea, let's try it. They move out on the Iron Fist for just a second, see how their opponents are set up for the defense, and immediately swap over to the Storm, knowing that it would be too risky to push into the setup with Bobo on that Adam Warlock for the defense, so they're just going for overwhelming firepower with the Goddess boost from the Storm onto that Punisher to just melt through those group walls. But we are seeing the group wall up here as both are just trying to trap the other out of line of sight of their strategists.
You're looking for those fights. Seeing Tanuki on Storm brings us back to the Invitational, I think, when it was OG that was representing some of these players beforehand. But Tanuki now finding a couple more picks. You got the B-Right-Backs bringing people into the fray yet again, but it seems that there is a player disadvantage more on the side for ChopperMag. It is going to be the Arm Amplifier used on both sides to try and up that damage, up that sustain to keep going, but it's not going to be enough. ChopperMag, that free setup has to change.
Bobo just had one of the fastest charges on a Karmic Revival I think I've ever seen, and he still can't get it off in time. But luckily for ChopperMag, I think is one of the first characters to go down in that fight. I mean, they can portal for the re-engage, and now they have a Karmic Revival available for it, so they can try and take this duel. Here comes the final judgment for Melio. They're just going to try and commit to this. Don't give them the chance to react. They take down Adam once again. Meteor M to try and blow him up. Melio going to be wrapping around for the defense, but Zenstory do have all down. Battle Reaper Figure brings them back. Here comes Bobo. Ooh, for the revive, but it's taken out mid-air. Beautiful pickup by Melio, and the momentum is now fully in favor of Citadel. Struggling for the comes on out, and it is thoroughly ignored.
It is very clean in the end from Citadel Gaming. Even with that camera revival, it amounted to very little. Gonna see if Bobo's gonna switch off of the Adam Warlock or if they want to stay onto this conversation. It is a couple of changes, more lateral, right? You've got the Angela now in play and the Daredevil Star-Lord for more of this fast play, the Zootopia backline of the Jeff Rocket Raccoon to play hard and fast into Citadel.
Going for the brawl style, that Star-Lord's going to be able to duel Tanuki in the sky a little bit better in vulnerability frames on the rolls, and of course that bonus health when you do so as well makes you very hard to be taken out in an air-to-air duel. Duet's going to be picked up by Melio, who's so good with this shotgun for the Punisher for dealing with backliners. Ayavamoto into the air to take out Zenstory. Enzo, ignoring the ground, is seeing the sky.
It's just, even though it connects onto one, the fact that the rest of Citadel Gaming were ready to jump on top. You've got the Strangler Prison used in an alcove more than anything to clear out some of these spots, but they get the picks, they get the space. It's not going to matter all too much. You've even got Tanuki still over on the Storm. He has the Omega Hurricane. He could just bank on it. He sat back waiting to get towards this second checkpoint, and then ChopperMag have to respect it. You do have the It's Jeff in use from Skittles, but you're still losing out on players. Melio's gone down in the process, and the Yarn Amplifier is going to make this a very heavy storm from Tanuki.
But it's not enough. They tank on through. We're seeing ChopperMag. The devil has been unleashed for the counterplay as their time got to their backline, but taken down. And once again, Citadel losing individual members, but seem to be holding the fight. But the Battle Rebirth Beacon will bring Pethic back into it, meaning numbers currently in favor of ChopperMag. Good positioning there by Alex. Drops the Battle Rebirth Beacon, which will bring back Tanuki in this fight. Not so lucky for Bobo, who will go down. Melio was picked off again. Pethic is just always on the flank.
He's always in these fights. And Melio, he's gone down a couple of times now, still wants to try and build up that final judgment as a way to sort of clear this objective. The Omega Hurricane not getting too much for Tanuki. Yarn Amplify upping that damage, seeing if they can get Enzo online potentially with this Eye of Agamotto at the same time. There comes Melio just leaping into the fray, so close to having his ultimate that ChopperMag don't really have much to sit back on and support, especially when Skittles was taken down just moments ago. Galactic Legend and the Freedom Charge ready to fight on the Soul Resurgence final judgment combination from Ken and Melio, but it's not enough to keep Zenstory going. It's not enough to keep him alive. He's going to be brought back from the Be Right Back, but Alex is finding the picks now.
They're holding it together. Ayavagamoto going to be blocked out by the barrier of the Sephiroth. It's not enough to keep Tanuki up, but Enzo holding the fight has their own Ayavagamoto to look for the turnaround right from above the point to remove the defenders as Fidel is going to be walled off for the one last chance at the defense, and point 2 goes over to Citadel.
Yeah, managed to find some space. 3.5 minutes still on the clock because that first point was so fast from Citadel. They still have a lot more time to sit back on here, but now it's for ChopperMag. They have some ultimates at least to sit back with, but they want to try and contest this space that already Citadel has taken. Look how far forward they've tried to push to make sure that ChopperMag cannot get comfortable and set up on this defense.
Creating an opening to make sure that ChopperMag, like you say, can't find a position to give themselves any kind of anger, any kind of bunker. The wraparound coming in, you can see Perfect and Zen's story continuously on the flag. Cosmic Guard Amplifier going to be coming out as Citadel have pulled the trigger, but Melio's going to be the first to fall in this fight, meaning that this is more of a sustained ultimate than anything. Citadel not coming into this fight, just trying to deal with these flankers, chasing down the shark that's in their backline. Is Jeff used to get away? Omega Hurricane to potentially chase it on the retreat and take out the backline. We just can't find anything, so another defensive ultimate used.
Not the Sharknado combination when it's on the other side, but Tanuki knows how this character plays. He's played it so often himself, but wants to go for something a little bit more offensive. However, both him and Melio are pretty much down on low HP. Melio even goes down if it wasn't for the Be Right Back that is just finding so much value from the rockets that are in play here. ChopperMag, they do have an invisible boundary to sit back on, even a Galactic Legend for Bobo. There's not going to be too much the Citadel Gaming could do about it. It's whether Polly can go for the Strangler Prison early and just stop ChopperMag from being able to go for a proactive approach. They're constantly on the back foot, but now they're going in for the kill.
Using the building as a little bit of cover from the Galactic Legends. Boba's going to try and find the angle, has to fire hose of Skittles to keep them topped up, playing quite high in the air, utilizing the high buildings themselves for a little bit of cover as Dueb's going to be chased down as they're completely separated. Cosmic Guard Amplifier, straggling Prison onto the backline to chase them all the way to spawn. Freedom Char's going to be coming out for a little bit of extra sustain with the Soul Resurgence, but Melio damage boosted onto the point with Goddess boost, and the Allied Inspire is trying to remove all the defenders, but it's a huge delay coming in from Zenstari, buying so much time for the revives. Meteor M to try and take him down, finds nothing. Bobo falls, Skittles is down, Zenstari is down, and we are heading all the way to Avengers Tower here for Citadel.
Midtown is always a cinematic masterpiece for Citadel. Whether it's win or loss, they love to give us a good game, especially a full best of 3, best of 5 in some of these games. But it's finishing the map. That's usually sort of like a nail in the spooky Halloween coffin for ChopperMag potentially. Finishing the map in these kind of game modes a little bit trickier, but it's the fact that Citadel Gaming staying on the composition that usually play for the first part of that map with the Punisher and the Storm going. Really, this composition is so difficult for what ChopperMag's trying to do. We keep going, but Paulie, that Strangling Prison through the invisible boundary to pull everybody out of it, it just sets up that combination of the Mantis, the Punisher, those two ultimates, the damage and speed boost put onto a freight train. There's nothing that ChopperMag could do to hold on from that.
What a performance so far by Citadel. Both teams currently hovering an Iron Fist. Citadel looking to go a little bit more aggressive on the defense. Double dive potential here, whereas we're seeing ChopperMag look for their own Iron Fist. They're also looking at that Storm once again, which is almost exactly the composition that we saw Citadel roll out, but here's the key difference. We didn't see the Jeff banned out against ChopperMag, meaning that they can just rip Citadel's strategy right off and go for Jeff NATO pushes themselves.
It does feel like ChopperMag take a lot of what Citadel have been good at, not only in this stage at this event, the entire year. But looking at the potential head-to-head of Iron Fist, Molan Ran is crying in his hotel room right now, going, this should have been me. Actually getting to go into an Iron Fist head-to-head. It's probably not where we expected too much of the grand finals, but here we are, ChopperMag having to finish off the map at the very least to keep us even in this best-of-3 series.
Going for the group balls on the wraparound, Tanuki taking a little bit of damage. Mostly it's been Melio who's been focused this game, so Tanuki's going to have a little bit more freedom with this mobility to just try and put some pressure on. And Alex just all the way in the back line, just making sure the team is topped up. Sends the Battle Rebirth Beacon just around the corner, see if they can catch anyone who's picked off. Enzo into the back line and catching Skittles right outside the spawn door.
Oh, they pretty much took him all the way in. Oh, if Enzo got pulled into the enemy spawn, he would have been instantly deleted, but the Be Right Backs are going to, again, come to fruition. Both teams really making use out of Rocket Raccoon, not only for the Be Right Back, but just how mobile these strategists are. It's why the Iron Fist and the Psylocke are in play, just to chase, make sure that these rodents don't get too much done in the backline, keeping their teams alive.
Then Starry moving over to the Angela, looking to just try and put some pressure, see if they can continue the very dive-heavy strategy that ChopperMag have been leading on to. They've abandoned their own Iron Fist, and Pethic will be moving over to the Daredevil. Bobo back on the Star-Lord. Tanuki, on the other hand, is still continuing to duel this, and that is one of the few characters that can actually keep up with Angela thanks to the lock-on. They could chase them quite well, and in fact, we're starting to see that. Zenstory gets brawled, comes on down for the Icarus Axis for that bonus, helps with the Blaster Barrage from Bobo.
He's close. He's almost got that Galactic Legend to go. And it's just after the Soul Resurgence was used on the other side from Ken, so he's trying to go high up into the air, see if he can get a good vantage point. But you can see how all of Citadel Gaming are just trading out this damage, but not enough. Melio and Ken go down to the back of Bobo. He's seeing if he can now get the other strategist that's in this setup, and the barrage in combination with Duep is going to be enough. It's keeping Big's movement, but at a very slow, steady pace. Citadel Gaming are down in numbers, but you can see one at a time, touching the point, stalling it, wasting as many seconds as they can.
Now Citadel, they can try and come back in for a reinforcement here at Freedom Charge. They're going to just rush on in with the speed boost to make sure that they can rush onto that point of delay as long as possible. Polly all the way from spawn to give their team a path, but Heaven's Descent is the doorway. That will slow them down and give so much distance over to ChopperMag. Charging on in, brings in Enzo. A lovely gift for the team, but Fidel's going to be the first to fall. The Cosmic Card Amplifier from Citadel, giving them the damage output to push onto the point. Melio pulling in for the dance of the butterflies to try and take out the attackers. Then Starry and Bobo are both eliminated.
Oh, but Pethic, the one-sided Daredevil, is trying to claw back a redemption arc. The man without fear on Halloween is finding himself the Fists of Polly, which tends to shut down a lot of duelists nowadays, but it does mean that Citadel Gaming are stalling this out. It's just an absolute brawl in the streets of New York. Midtown is really giving it for both of these sides, but ChopperMag only have a minute left to push to this first checkpoint.
Enzo is down, meaning they lose a lot of that point delay. Reinforcement coming on in. Duo's going to try and rush to buy a little bit of extra time to zone out the backline. Living Chi from the Iron Fist is trying to chase them down, but Ken is already going to be removed, removing a lot of healing output from the Citadel and that damage boost. Immediately Tanuki's just trying to brawl, but he goes down just completely outnumbered, but it bought time, meaning Polly could come back in, meaning Alex could come back in, because Enzo portals the team, but a reinforcement. They're burning through so much time of ChopperMag. Well, ChopperMag will likely take this fight, especially with that Galactic Legend.
Ooh, great pick.
Eating through that clock.
You're getting Alex just as he tried to hide behind cover. Zenstory catching out Melio, the portal play. He's even going to dive through it. He's not afraid to take this fight right at the doors of where Citadel were setting up on this defense. He's able to sneak all the way back. It's a great play. It provides that space to hit this first checkpoint and might be able to catch some of these plays from Citadel that have to try and reset and back out because ChopperMag were hungry for a few more picks.
I thought Perfect was Blake Daredevil. Like you said, Bobo the man without fear, but you don't need to have much fear when you have a Rocket Network teleport back to the objective, that astral jump, to return you to a safe location after you've dived onto the objective. Perfect right now looking for the high ground, has eyes on Melio to try and remove them from the board. With the damage out, but the chase is good. The Devil has been unleashed, but again knocks back off the point for the first time. The Heaven's Descent is buying a lot of time, but that Cosmic Card Amplifier is keeping Citadel in it with the Freedom Charge, doubling up on that bonus health, means they will sustain through.
Pethic is just finding these hands from all the members of Citadel Gaming, and now the Dance of the Butterflies instantly shut down from Bobo.
Oh, no.
Melio's not going to have a chance to use it. Polly manages to catch on to Skittles, and the Freedom Charge is going to be used from Duep to keep stalling things out, to keep this fight going. Citadel Gaming down 2 players, but a 4 versus 6, 3 versus 6. They're still able to sort of buy some time, and adjustments come in to now go for the Adam Warlock to try and go for camera revivals and stall stuff out. This is a place where the payload often gets stuck. ChopperMag might have their trickiest challenge, their trickiest fight coming up.
Citadel bringing out the Adam Warlock for that extra defense. They don't have Portal available, so Soulbond becomes the next highest priority because they already have that Battle Rebirth Beacon, so every bit of sustain that they could use to hold this fight will be incredibly useful, as Enzo has access to that Meteor M for that last second defense. Skittle not having that. It's Jeff for any more time. It's going to be quite a while away. Enzo gets stunned down. The first to fall, removing the Battle Rebirth Beacon. Invisible Boundary, sniped out of the air, taken down. And the dive from Tanuki is going to remove Fidel, moving that Battle Rebirth Beacon on their own side, but it's too late. Bobo is already back. Zenstory is removed, and Citadel repel ChopperMag.
Just the hands are like bullets blocking some of the damage. Bobo tries to sort of set the standard, right? Able to get a pick, goes for the Galactic Legend. Enzo blocking the majority of damage with the Meteor M, taking some of that bullets to make that big old ball strong and straight into the forehead of Bobo. He's going to feel that one in the morning, but he might also be playing for his elimination elimination a little bit later on. Tanuki now not willing to give up these fights. If it's going on, it means that there's still a fighting chance for Citadel Gaming to keep this held back and to keep buying time.
Pethic holding the line, at least for the moment. Polly with the freedom charge. Heavens to set up to the point, but immediately going to be bopped back off the point. Forced to take to the sky. Cosmic Yard up on fire for Alex. For the sustain. We're so close to a karmic revival. Meaning they just have to keep Melio up. A beautiful charge up to Polly, but they're just too fast, too mobile. Battle Rebirth Beacon brings back head into the fight as Skittles is on the flank, making sure everyone is topped up, but the dive might be too much. Bobo is down, as is Zenstory. It's Jeff onto the point.
And it's cleared up. ChopperMag unable to go further on to match finishing the map for Citadel Gaming. And they don't do things by halves, they do things by three. Citadel Gaming able to move up in the winner's bracket. But much like every single game for them at the Grand Finals event here in Atlanta, it's long, it's labored, and it takes every single map that they have the advantage to.
The point was clear. The It's Jeff an attempt to reach. I'm flabbergasted. They tried to It's Jeff onto the point just to touch for a little bit longer, but they just were caught short. Citadel Gaming continuing their run through the upper bracket, heading up to those semi-finals, but ChopperMag sure made them work for it.
It was a potential nightmare scenario for Citadel Gaming, but they get that scary team of ChopperMag out of the way for the time being. Always a chance that they could rematch them later on in the tournament. But for ChopperMag, you've got a best-of-5 break, and then you're playing a little bit later up against Dark Zero, which, oh, you did see these two teams play in their respective groups, right? And I think in the end, it went to Dark Zero, that one. So it's, with a full best-of-5, feels like we could see a few more maps trade either side in that case.
Dark Zero also put a pretty solid performance in their own matchup, taking a first round, not first map, but first round off of FlyQuest. They are not to be underestimated either. None of these teams have an easy pathway, but Citadel have at least made it so they have to play a few less matches.
For Citadel, it's making sure that their name is amongst like the top 4, top 3. They want to win this event. They felt that they were in pole position to go in for the mid-season finals, and it was their own individual performances that let them down in Guangzhou. Even their series against Na'Vi, they said it was on us. 100 Thieves, we struggled with the draft, we made those adaptations in an interview with Audible. In that case with Na'Vi, it was just a case of, we sucked, we need to do better. This was probably something that they're not going to be too happy about. They would want to win it 2-0, but they win it. They will take those results as and when they come.
And like you said, they would want to win it 2-0, but you just cannot understate how well ChopperMag played in that. Duev just went up against what is almost universally considered to be the best Captain America in the form of Polly and equaled them. Kept them on point, dived exactly when needed to, and forced so many adaptations out of both these teams just to try and stay in it. This was not a battle for that upper bracket. This was a battle for survival.
It really felt that way. And just, I don't think this is like the last cast that I have. That was the fastest game of like Marvel Rivals. Like the tempo, the way that the teams are constantly fighting. In this kind of environment, when it's going to get warmer and warmer here in DreamHack Atlanta with more bodies coming in over the weekend, that pace of play, only some teams could keep up. You could say ChopperMag, you could definitely say Citadel.
And what a performance we just had. We are going to be getting ready for that interview as we head over to the main stage and Cozy.
What's going on, guys? We come back from that electric matchup, and I'm joined by the Vanguard GOAT in Pauly. And listen, sometimes the cook, man, it's a slow burn. You guys, you've been dropping a map, going into it, and then just coming out looking ready and fresh, man. Talk to me about a little bit of that mentality here from the group stage to now.
I mean, we're kind of just a mentality team. We're just the mentality goats, you know? Every time it goes wrong, every time we're down, eventually we just find a way to build back up. And that's kind of what we do, you know? We never back down.
Hey, I love that. Listen, the viewers, the dads, the cast, we haven't seen a lot of Heart of Heaven, right? That's a map we have not seen a lot so far. What made y'all pick that map out of all of the pools whenever you wanted to come back and try to get a game back into this thing?
I mean, the first plan on the new map was to play Angela with kind of a pole comp, but then they eventually banned it. But then they just left everything for us open, you know? We first tried to dive, didn't eventually work, and then we ended up on like a Groot, Adam, like pole comp, like front to back comp, and then we just fully stopped their dive. Everything.
So, man, he is known as Steve Pauly Rogers. This is the Captain America himself. I gotta ask, I was impressed with Duep and what they were able to do on the Vanguard side. Do you feel like the Vanguards on the side of ChopperMag, were able to hold up pretty well?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This team is a dive team. Like, they're diving really, really, really good. So we had to step back, play more front to backy, and then yeah, we're just locked in.
And Cinderella's story in the making, able to make your own story as well. Last I want to say with y'all, you have Sala, you have your team, so locked in. You're bringing in what y'all have put together now with Melio as well, man. FlyQuest is next. You got a big one coming up, and you all played them, so far. What do you need to do ensure to win and to get up into the next set of the finals?
I think we just need to play our own game. We just need to do whatever we feel like, is more comfortable, and just have fun. Need to have fun.
That's what I want to see. You guys are serious on the cams. That's what I love, man. And hey, listen, take it all in, man. We got Atlanta, Georgia. We got a ton of viewers at home. And listen, I'm going to give you the floor one more time. Any last words that you want to tell the fans out there?
Captain Pauly, at your service.
Captain Pauly at your service. Well, that was definitely a good way to wrap up the upper bracket, but we still have 2 more matches left as we find ourselves best of 5 down, teams facing elimination. Not today for you, Pauly, but for 2 more teams, as we're going to go to a quick break and then we get back to the action.